Heyo everybody, Haku here with my live reaction to read through for Boku no Hero Academia chapter 424, and we're just really at the end, I think. So I haven't been spoiled on anything in the chapter ahead of time, but I have heard two things. First, this chapter is titled Epilogue, which makes sense. Bleach ended on one epilogue chapter. Naruto ended on one epilogue chapter. That makes sense. But the other thing I've heard, and I can't 100% confirm this, is that Horikoshi said even though the chapter is titled Epilogue, My Hero Academia will continue on, I forget the exact wording here, for some time, or for a time. And I'm just like, what does that mean? Does that mean we are getting My Fullbring Academia? Does it mean, okay, we're going to get a couple chapters of epilogue? Maybe we get an epilogue arc. Like I was joking with the Fullbring arc thing, but maybe we get an epilogue arc to wrap things up. So we are in store for a little bit more My Hero Academia, I guess, which is kind of weird. I mentioned last time that it would be, if My Hero Academia sticks with the usual 12 chapter per volume format, then the first chapter of a new volume would have been last week, unless they wrap last week's into chapter 41, I guess, and have a 13 chapter volume 41, and then volume 42 is just going to be an entire epilogue volume, potentially. Who knows? But yeah, I know that we're not over yet, and I don't know how much longer that means the series will be, or what else we will do, especially if this is titled Epilogue. If this is titled Epilogue, I have no idea where we're going. But does this mean, like, what does epilogue mean? Is it going to be an immediate epilogue, like we're picking up right afterward? Or are we going to do what I mentioned before that I was kind of dreading, where we have the random shipping, like with Naruto, where it's like, okay, we need to pair up this character, and like the obligatory shipping finale. Are we going to do that? But either way, that aside, let's start reading. And I also wanted to shout out, before I started reading, Ron Can, because who knows, I have been doing like 3 chapters of video up until now, and my videos have only been like 20-30 minutes for those. So I'm like, just doing one chapter, I don't know how short this video could end up being, but Ron Can talks for like an hour or so every week about the new chapter. I've loved his videos, I love his discussions and everything, so I wanted to shout those out. But yeah, either way, let's start reading. United States, Washington State. Okay, as you can see, we've got clear sunny skies across the entire country. We were anticipating a week of stormy weather, so I'd like to apologize for being so off the mark. Please, Meryl, no more weird outbursts, thinks the director guy. But hold on to your hats out there, folks, as we're expecting some strong winds. Yes, the gusts that blew that day came in the wake of a great battle. Bring that here, won't you? Oh, and we have in the rubble, there's the heroes from the other countries that we saw before. Sure, I appreciate the help. Stay tuned for updates on what sort of effects we'll be seeing from that. Look, our house got built. Yeah, it's springing up quick as bamboo, so all the other heroes from around the world are helping to rebuild Japan. 1 week passed. The restoration efforts that had stalled after the Jaku conflict picked back up at a breakneck pace. With the battles over, the United States and many other nations showed up with an outpouring of support and resources. Okay, this is so exciting. After seeing their wild fight, we couldn't sit back and do nothing. And he's like splashing all over the reporter. The Survey Bureau lent us the plans and the blueprints so we can start rebuilding whatever's on the docket. It's all been cleared with the Building Standards Act. Here you go. And this guy is just 3D man, 3D printing a building. Before the advent of the exceptional, restoration on a similar scale would have taken over a decade. So we're seeing the good side of Quirk Society, what they can do when they work together. But with so many capable quirks devoted to the effort, it shouldn't be long before things won't ever be back to normal. We cut to the doctor. Is that going to be talking about Izuku? As I explained, prior to the surgery, this is the best we could hope for. Oh, and it's actually not Izuku this time, it's, Bakugo. I promise you we did all we could, especially after seeing your son's exploits. A great number of bone segments had to be jointed and set, and I can't guarantee that any amount of rehabilitation will give him back the use of the arm. If he's determined to work as a hero, he could consider a prosthesis like Miriko's. And then rehab, screw that, lop it off. Nah, forget it. So that's what happened with her arm. Crazy that we get a flashback to that. And then, hold on, I'm just checking the recording, making sure it looks alright. Because my quirk comes from my palms. Katsuki. Plus, he never even had one. Give me that rehab, bring on the pain, the sooner the better. No, only low effort exercise for now. Gah, more than your arm. The problem's your heart. You'd be dead without Edshot's masterful suturing, which helped restart your heart and lungs. I have no idea how you managed to keep fighting in that state, and frankly I'm flabbergasted that you blasted your way across several kilometers after that. You were given a second shot at life, and you heeded the call. In any case, my only prescription for now is bed rest. You awake? What are the odds we'd end up side by side, All Might? We have All Might and Izuku. Scouchy arranged it this way. Oh, they're short on rooms, and this makes life easier for the guards. How are you feeling? They said they'd never had to use quite so many bolts to cobble someone back together. How about you, Midoriya Shonen? I'm getting back some feeling in my arms. I couldn't save Tenko's life. Even after reaching into his heart and shattering that hatred, Tenko remained the League of Villains leader to the very end. Speaking as someone who went through a near-death experience, I want you to ask yourself, what was the look on his face in the end? It's already been destroyed. Oh yeah? That depends on what you people decide to do tomorrow. Make sure you do your damn best. Because again, what I was saying before is Shigaraki and the League of Villains, in a lot of ways, they did, you know how like, really Spinner and what Dabi said, how they were like, we want to carry on Stain's legacy. They really did kind of carry on Stain's legacy of tearing down the past hero society and bringing together what was left to work together. Like, not that what they did was good, and not that that was all of their goals in the end, but that is kind of what ended up happening. Assuming he didn't still look like that crying kid, then you did save him, his soul anyway. And you did your duty to One for All. You passed it on, right? I felt it happening. Yeah, but... So I think that's a nice end for One for All. Like, he passed it on to Shigaraki, which was, like, forcefully passed it on to destroy his core and everything, which made, you know, Tenko the 10 pun, him being the 10th user, and also All for One and One for All, the quirks dying together. Yeah, but I can still feel the ember smoldering inside. And Bakugo bursts in. How the hell are you up and about? Kachan, you're okay. Phew, I love that face for Izuku. Sorry about him, All Might. He was just worried about you. You too, Deco. Sorry. Wait, the ember? Huh? You mean you're quirkless again? Yep, but I never had a quirk in the first place, so I can't be too broken up about it. Besides, I couldn't have transferred it without wanting to. My time with it gave me a glimpse of the most amazing dream. I wonder if we are going to get, in the end here, he loses One for All, but Izuku, like, unlocks, or, like, he unlocks his, like, natural born quirk or something. What dirty tricks did you use, to do it, you quirkless twerp? And we have the flashbacks. And I'm gonna rise even higher than that. I've got to keep growing too. So again, we're realizing that, or Bakugo's realizing that he might surpass Izuku since the embers are going to die out eventually. Huh? What? And then Wachan! No. I mean, what the... And, like, because he's crying. What the hell did I do to you? I guess I thought we'd be competing and I'd be on your heels for the rest of our lives. Hey, cut that out. This isn't like you. Again, his idea of, like, this rivalry has just been shattered. I still got that ember for now. Look, being all banged up must be making you emotionally vulnerable. The two of you have grown so strong. You're so different from the day we met. Midoriya Shonen, When I saw you diving into the fray that day, you were already a great hero, as far as I was concerned. But now, the way you're encouraging the world to get back up on its feet, now you're a great hero to all of them, too. And you made darn sure I'd still be around to say these things. You hear me, Bakugo Shonen? To my pair of great heroes, I say thank you. When I was little, I thought that when the big battle was won, peace would be restored to the world, just like that. However, we see Shoto, and then I'm not sure about the stones in the ring here, and then Uraraka. Our tale doesn't end here. It can't. The fight may be over, but until we lead the way to a bright future, we've got to go further beyond. What happened to his... I don't remember what happened to Izuku's face to have it messed up like that. I don't remember what happened last week or whatever. But no, he has... I was going to say weird zoomer haircut, but not even. That was like a 12, 13-year-olds loved this haircut in like the early 2010s. And then number 424, Epilogue, we see UA being rebuilt. And they're all going back. Again, it's like, what do they do when they go back to UA? They're all basically like, Class 1A are like some of the best of the heroes at this point. So it's like, what do we do? But it does seem like, since this is how we ended it, it does feel like what I said before, where we might get an epilogue arc or an epilogue volume to like kind of fix things up. But I actually love how he said, you know, like, he thought, okay, you beat the big bad guy, you do all that, it's over, peace is restored, the world is just, world peace happens. But the fight isn't over. So it makes me wonder, it makes me feel like, okay, if the fight isn't over, if Hawks' dream hasn't come true, his dream of heroes having more time on their hands than they know what to do with, if that hasn't come true, then honestly, the series could continue on in near perpetuity. So it just makes me wonder what the plan is, because you could go like so far with Hero Academia. So it's like, is this just the epilogue of part 1 and we get My Hero Academia part 2? I wouldn't hate that. Do we get, like, again, a full arc out of this, or just a couple more chapters? We haven't got any... Usually there's like a warning of, hey, this'll get canned in like a couple of weeks. Unless it's something short, but especially for something big, it's like, hey, you get like a couple weeks, sometimes even like a 2-month notice. But we haven't gotten that for Hero Academia, so it's just confusing as to how much we have left. It's just, like... Obviously, you think that there's a lot they can do, like they can explain directly exactly what happens to this character, what happens to that character. They can go through and directly tell us exactly what happens to every character, but I have become accustomed to not really getting that, like most long-running shonens and everything. It's like, okay, well, we end, and we don't exactly... tell the reader exactly what happens to every single character. So I didn't really 100% expect that for My Hero Academia if it didn't happen either. But we might get that now. We have time, apparently. I think that's good, though. As long as Horikoshi's not being rushed, let him take time. Let him do what he wants with the ending. It's just that now that the final battle is over, it's like, alright, don't know where we go from here. And as far as the final battle goes, again, it's like, is it perfect? I guess it's not perfect. I guess like anything, I can always think of ways that things could be better. But I'm happy with the ending and the way things went generally. Like, could you have done cooler things with Shigaraki? I guess. But again, I'm just fine with how things were. I think that people had issues with All For One coming back and being the final big villain, but I'm fine with it, especially... Again, maybe going with Shigaraki as the main villain and not bringing back All For One is fine too, but then you get into the thing of like... Then you get into the issue of, well, so either Izuku kills him without Shigaraki being redeemed, which we got Shigaraki dying and being redeemed, So we either get him dying but without being redeemed because he fights Izuku to the end, or we get him being redeemed and then he doesn't die and we just have Shigaraki just sitting around in a jail cell somewhere. So, we can't really run through with that unless we have Eddie just rewind him back to Tenko childhood and have him relive his life. But again, Eddie is again a weird can of worms for Horikoshi to have opened, because it just makes you wonder, okay, when we see her, is her quirk still going to work? Because if we leave Eddie with a working quirk, then you always have to ask yourself, can't you just rewind everyone? Can't you just rewind Bakugo to full health? Can't you rewind All Might to like when he was like 28 or something? Like peak All Might? I don't know. Leaving Eddie with full quirk around just makes you think about all those things. It's like, can't you just rewind people to like their peak performance, and like people can line up every day for her to rewind them back like 50 years so that nobody ever dies, everybody's immortal? Like, what you bring up a lot of questions with her quirk and how it would work in wider society. But yeah, I guess I just really don't mind what happened with Shigaraki and All For One, especially because, like I said, all of the other villains were victims of the world, and that was a part of their character and a part of their arc. But All For One was just the evil demon lord that needed to be defeated, and I think that makes him work really well as a final villain. As for, like, stakes for the characters, not a lot of big deaths happened. I think maybe like no big deaths happened, unless we find out what happened to the villains. If any of the villains for sure died, then, but even then, other than Shigaraki obviously, but even then I don't mind it because of what All Might said. All Might specifically said what they would want is a complete victory. So having My Hero Academia end in a nearly complete victory with Shigaraki being the only one that Izuku couldn't save is fine. I do think it's interesting though how, so sorry, I was losing my train of thought. I think it's interesting how a big part of the story was, is there people that you can't save to All Might? And oh, there were people you didn't save from Shigaraki. And to have him in the end still not be saved, I mean, I guess he kind of, like All Might said, he kind of was saved in a way, but also in a way he totally wasn't. But then again, you could argue maybe he killed a bunch of people, probably, so maybe he shouldn't be saved, like fully. So there is that to think about. Other than that, people don't like the scene of Izuku losing his arms and then immediately getting them back, but I think it's fine because it's like crazy shocking when he loses them. And my justification is, A, My Hero Academia is just a pop shonen, and B, that wasn't like the final battle, the final move. If it happened like right at the end, like he sacrifices his arms in the final attack against All For One and then gets them back in the epilogue, that might be different, but it was still like in the middle of the fight. And it also could be Horikoshi's way of writing Eddie's quirk out of the story if she never fully gets it back the way it was before, or the way it potentially could have been before. It could be a way of writing that out. I would say my only general, like, if you want me to be critical, I think that the early parts of it are just really sluggish and really mid. Like the first fight between Shoto and Dabi, I was like, that's okay. And like, this is the big final clash between Shoto and Dabi. It didn't end up being the final clash, but I'm just like, that was alright. And then like the early stuff, it feels like we went through a good few dozen chapters where I was just like, this is okay. And I think where it really picked up was Endeavor and the group surrounding him versus All For One. I thought that was good. Then that ends with him being like, I'm making this sacrifice, and he starts Benjamin buttoning, and then we get the really good Uraraka and Toga stuff. I think that stuff's really great. I don't think the Spinner stuff is perfect, because I don't think Spinner got enough time and attention. I wish he got more, because I do like what we did get out of him, but I love the Shoji stuff. I like that Shoji got to be one of the like final fights against one of the final League villain members. The stuff with, again, I think the stuff with Dabi is kind of the weakest of the final stuff with the with the League of Villains, but I'm okay with it being the weakest because it wasn't bad, and it wasn't bad, and it also was kind of the strongest through line story through My Hero Academia with the Todoroki family stuff. Like, that story overall was so good that even if the ending was just like okay, it wasn't incredible, it didn't blow my mind like the Toga Uraraka finale stuff. I'm fine with it being solid. I'm fine with it being okay, good, but not the best. And then I think that, All Might and Stain stuff against All For One, all the different characters coming together to fight All For One, Endeavor and All For One stuff before that, then finally Bakugo and All For One I thought was really good, then Izuku versus Shigaraki I thought was really good. People might complain that the fighting wasn't that great, but when has the fighting ever been? To be honest with you, choreography-wise, when has the fighting ever been that great? To me, what My Hero Academia does with its fights is emotion. I've said this from the beginning. It doesn't even have the choreography of some of the stuff like the Big Three were doing in the 2000s. But where I think it goes above and beyond almost any other shonen is the emotion. Like, I watch or read the original, Kamino Ward All For One against All Might, or Izuku against Bakugo after the provisional license exam, or Izuku against Muscular. All of those hit me really, really hard emotionally. And I think bringing that emotion out, the Stain fight, you can say that for. The fights in the sports festival, you can say that for. It is much more about the emotion of the fights than the actual technical stuff of the fights. So I am totally fine. I think the fights were fine. The fights were on par with what we expect from Hero Academia. Like, the actual choreography wasn't that great, but especially with some of the All Might stuff, the Uraraka stuff especially, they brought the emotion. Izuku and Shigaraki in the memories, that was really well done. Then the final fight was just them all just throwing everything at All For One, which is just, kind of a by-the-books ending. But in a lot of ways, people have always argued that Hero Academia is a by-the-books shonen. So again, it is fitting. Much like I said about Attack on Titan's ending, to me the ending perfectly fits the manga itself. Any praise I have for it, any praise I have for the ending of either, fits my praise for the overall manga itself, and anything I didn't like about either ending is kind of stuff that goes for the entire manga itself. So there's that, and then there was one more thing I was thinking about that, one thing that I think could have made the manga as a whole better, if you want me to, again, be more critical, I think we should have had some more arcs. I think we should have drug it out a little longer. We should have had more time to develop some of the side characters more, because some of the side characters really didn't get all that much. Uraraka had an incredible finale. I think her finale her and Toga's finale might be my favorite of them even. It was just very, very good. But before that, how much did she do? Like, I loved what she did in the sports festival, but between then and now, there was just a huge gap where she barely did anything and was barely ever around. Ida, I always complained about, where I really want to like Ida, but Ida pretty much never does anything. So, giving those characters some more time and attention. Kirishima in the final battle, I feel like kind of got shafted a little bit compared to how good I thought he was going into this. I think that he didn't really get as cool a finale as a lot of the others. So, there are a lot of sort of aspects that I do wish could have been dragged out further so that we could develop the side characters more, and especially some of the more minor villains. Like, when we got introduced to the concept, we spent all that one chapter introducing us to the idea, okay, the Paranormal Liberation Front has the lieutenants, but then under them there are three more officer villains, and it's like, okay, I want to learn about them. We could have totally developed them into actual characters and then gotten actual final fights. Like, so many of our Class 1A characters, Class 1B characters, other hero students, they showed up to throw things at All For One, but they didn't get their own individual endings. They didn't get their own individual final battles. And even the side heroes and stuff, if we developed some of those minor villain characters, we could have had more one-on-one final battles. And for some people, they would complain even more about Hero Academia's ending because of that, because a lot of people just want to see the main characters doing main character stuff. But for me, and I think for some people, I appreciate side characters, and I think a lot of people would have appreciated if we did give more respect to the side characters, but I could be totally wrong. That could have dragged the pacing out too much, and it could have ended up in like a One Piece Dressrosa situation in that case. But yeah, either way, after talking about this chapter, after talking about the ending as a whole some more, just because I didn't want to leave you on too short a video, I need to somehow find a way to try to get this video up. So I am short on time, so thank you so much for watching. Like if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this chapter, my thoughts and reaction and all that. Subscribe for more My Hero Academia, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. If you want a link to the... Oh! You know, just looking at my video screen, seeing the Tsuyu figure in the background, I saw some people saying Tsuyu got shafted, as well as Kirishima in the final arc. Yeah, Tsuyu. And it's so funny, Mineta didn't even get a... I don't like Mineta. I can't stand the guy. I think he is easily one of the worst characters in the series, and it's not because of, oh, pervy jokes or whatever. I think the perv characters, like Keigo from Bleach, I always thought was like a funny character, because again, you had the pervy comedy or Cone, but it didn't cross certain lines where Mineta's just straight up like actual, like a terrible person. But like Mineta didn't get anything in the finale really. So yeah, he didn't get like anything, I'm just realizing. But yeah, I agree that Tsuyu got shafted. Kirishima, Tsuyu, I think they should have gotten to do more. I saw people saying that Tsuyu just got turned into Uradaka's like sidekick, and she really did. She really should have gotten more. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Twitter if you want. If you want a link to the Discord server, it's free and open for anyone. If you want to help support the channel, drop a super thanks down below. If you want to help support the channel but also get One Piece videos a little bit early and get a shout out at the end of every single video, hit join down below or become... I think I said that twice. Whatever, you know, hit join down below or go to patreon.com/Haku of the Tubes, or a link will be in the description to become a patron. Thank you to people who are patrons and members. Thank you to Chosen Regular, Evan Holly, Magical Girls, Nono, Abyss Knight, and J.A., Cherryton Students, David Langstaff and Folded Ghoul, Slayer Candidates, SG and Stan Cedar, and Pure Element, Pate Ardialo. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.